Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show something very important most mechanics would ignore when they are doing brakes. You can see here, this is my 2015 Nissan Rogue. I'm going to show you something very important, but before I go into this, just make sure that if you're doing this by yourself, you know what to do. You know, make sure that your car is on a jack stand, make sure you have wheel chokes, parking brakes on. If you are going to get this done by a mechanic, if they say, oh, we got to change your brakes, please, you gotta tell them there are two guiding pins which goes in and out on the caliper. These guiding pins on the inside has to be lubricated. I'm going to show you how to do that. If you're doing this by yourself, do not ignore that step. If you don't do this caliper will not move and it gets stuck. And most situations the mechanics would say, oh, let's change the whole caliper, but you don't need to, because what is seized is the pin but not the caliper. Okay, so take a look here. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is, if you guys look over here, there is a 14mm bolt on the top, and there's also one similar at the bottom right there. So that's one at the bottom, that's one at the top. So these two have to be removed. So I'm just using a regular 40mm wrench which just goes in there. It's right there, and in most situations this is going to be very difficult to remove, if especially it's rusted. Mine on the other side was pretty super rusted. It was very difficult to remove, so I'll use another easier one. If you have a torque wrench, you can use that. If not, just regular one, you just give it a couple of blows, and you know that'll loosen up this one too. Okay, I'm gonna do it the right way. All right, there we go. I got this locked in place. There we go. That's one's loosened. I'm gonna do on the bottom. All right, see. Right, I'm just going to remove these two here. I'm going to fast forward this video so you don't want to waste too much time on this. Alright, you can see here I removed the bottom one first, and I'm just going to pull it out. You can see here that is the guiding pin. Now you'll notice this kind of differs in each vehicle. The bottom pin at the bottom right there, there's a tiny little rubber. It's very important, that should be in there. The top pin doesn't have it. Your vehicle could be a little different, just make sure. Now also see here, in between the caliper and here, there's a rubber boot. This can also be replaced. So once you remove this pin, I'm going to put it down here. Then you can see here, you can pretty much lift the caliper up and down because the top pin is still there. I didn't remove that. Now in most situations, if you want to change the brakes, you can just lift there, and then you can just take off the brakes right here. You see here, the brake pads come off, and here's the other brake pad which usually comes off, and then you can actually put a new brake pads in. You don't have to do anything at all. But the lubricating these pins is going to be the key here. Take a look here. Alright, what I've done is I went ahead to Canadian Tire and I just purchased a kit. Now the kit contained these brake shims. This is where the brake pads kind of sit on it, and now mine's worn out, so I'm going to might as well change this as well. And then this was the rubber boot I was talking about, which goes in between the guiding pin and the caliper. And this also comes with that little rubber piece which I was talking about. Now these are the two brand new guiding pins. You can see here, nice and shiny, it looks great. But you see the bottom one here as indentation, that's where this little rubber kind of goes in, as you can see there. And I'm going to put it in place. This is very important, this rubber. If it's worn out or missing, you have to change the pin. Okay, now what I was talking about, lubricating these pins, is the key factor. Once a year you do it, the only thing you may have to replace is the brake pads and never the caliper, right? So now I got two things here. I'm going to show you right here. So I got the silver oxide anti-seize element, or the compound, and here's just a regular silicone, or actually it's a silicone white crease. Now what I would recommend is, you see the grooves where this caliper is going to go, this pin's going to go on the caliper, so always put the anti-seize. So the next time you want to remove this, it comes off very, very easy. Now, along the pin and the rubber, you just have to take a little bit of that silicone grease and just dab it on that. Never put it on the end here, because if it goes to the end, it may create a little bit of a buffer, then the pin won't go all the way in, because it creates like a vacuum seal on the inside too. So the silver oxide anti-seize goes on the groove, the grease goes on the pin, and then you would insert this. So this is going to glide the caliper in and out nice and smooth. So when you apply the brakes, you're going to feel that the brakes engage better. They don't seize, they last longer too. Alright, you can pretty much see here, I removed the top one too. Now because I have this the brake fluid hose, you can see that bolt is kind of interfering. So I'm just going to lift the caliper up. I don't want my hands made dirty. And then I'm just going to just pull it out. And here you go. You see there? This is the other guiding pin. It doesn't have the rubber, the top one. So I'm going to kind of bend that tube a little bit. And I'm going to take that out. So there we go. The top guiding pin is out. It fairly looks okay, but I'm just going to change the new ones for sure. Okay, I'm going to put that down. And now remember, this, don't let it hang because this tube has all the brake fluid. So I would say carefully put it on the top somewhere. This can be a little more secure, and just keep it in there as well. Okay, now just come over here. All you got to do is, you can see these are the brackets of the caliper. I mean, if you change the whole caliper, this comes as a piece. You can remove that. But all I'm going to do now is, you see, that's the rubber boot I was talking about. I'm just going to pull it out. There we go. That's an old boot. It's a top one, bottom one out. Now take a look here, the shims. So all you got to do is lift it from any corner from here, so they kind of slide out as well. See, that's the old one. Just watch the position when you remove. That's very important. It goes the same way. And there's a top one as well. So I'm just going to pull it down, and there we go. They come off as well. So I'm going to change these brake shims as well. Now these are the shims where the brake pads sit and they glide in and out. So that's gone as well. So pretty much clean. If you have a wire brush, just make sure that clean the top and the bottom here. So make sure it's all good. On the inside, make sure that if you want, that's the, for example, I'm going to show you right here. So you can see here, this is where the guiding pin goes in and out. I'm going to give it a good wipe. I don't want to put any dust in there. It was sitting on the floor. And you can see here, that's where I'm going to put that guiding pin. So you see how it glides in and out, in and out. This is how the brakes engage, right? That's what we want to lubricate that. That's an old one. I'm going to toss it out anyway. All right, let me prepare the shims and the pins, lubricate them, and I'm going to show you how it's done. All right, this is the new shim, and you can see I'm going to put the one at the bottom. So these large groovy areas, you see here, these two, that's where the brake pad sits. Let me just show you a sample. So you see here, the brake pads go in here, and then they go in and out. They glide like that. So that should be facing upwards. I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to put that in here. And there's a groove. You want to press down. Make sure it sits in there. Let me just press it down nice and hard. It's a bit rusty. There you go. It sits in there. It's good. I'm going to do the one on the top as well. All right, so these are the old brake pads, and you can see it's still nice and thick. So this will last me for a while. So I'm not going to change the brake pads, but it's important that you see the top and the bottom piece which glides. That's where you can see the silver oxide already put in there. So make sure you take enough of that and just dab it in here, and make sure you dab it on the top as well. So put lots of these so that this doesn't seize as well. Once again, the top and bottom here, don't put any crease. It's that silver oxide anti-seize compound which goes there. Now every brake pad looks a little different. One of the brake pad has is a little indented metal. So what it does is, as this pads are getting thinning out, see these little metal edge, once they start hitting on the rotor, they're going to create a squeaking sound indicating that, oh shit, you got to change those brake pads, right? So this usually goes on the inside, and this brake pad which doesn't have that, it usually sits on the outside as well. So I'm going to dab some silver oxide on these, and these I'm going to put them back in there. I'm going to show you how. All right, you can see how much I've dabbed. It's a lot of these on the top, right? So this pretty much, as you can see, I'm going to adjust the camera so y'all can see better. There we go. This goes in here and fits right in that groove, and on the top and in. It's nice and grippy because I put the new shims. It's not loose, it's a bit firm, and that's how it's supposed to be. I'm going to do the one on the inside one too. I have a little groove. I'm going to set that brake first. Once again, lots of silver oxide dabbing there as well. All right, you can see there, both the brake pads are in place. The one on the inside, one on the outside, they're in there. That's good. That's the first step. All right, this is the important one I was talking about. The most ignored step by most mechanic are these pins. So I'm going to take a little bit of that, and you can see here, that's a silver oxide which goes on the groove. I'm going to show you a better view. So just put it only on the groove so it doesn't seize. When you want to remove it, it comes off very easy. Just make sure you're more liberal in putting this. All right, you can see there the threads have the silver oxide. So now I'm going to go and get some white grease, and mine is pretty much done. I'm trying to squeeze every possible way. I think it's time for me to go and get some new ones. All right, there we go. Let's yep, I got some still here, which is good. All right, take a look here. So this is where you put the crease. Make sure you apply it on the pin. There you go, all good. So you got the anti-seize on the grooves, the grease on the pin. Do not put anything on the tip here. Just make sure this, just wipe it off if anything. Leave that dry because the pin glides in and out. No crease at the end there too. Okay, I'm going to show you how this goes in now. Let's put that down here. All right, let's get this rubber boot in. Now if you look carefully, just going to put on my glove. All right, that's a closer view. So this portion here in my vehicle goes and hits the caliper. It kind of grips it in place, and you can see there's a little bit of a groove. So I'm gonna put that, just yank it in, just a couple of times, rotate it. See it? There you go. It just sits in that groove. Oh, it didn't. I thought it did. Okay, let's do it again. Now this rubber boot is so important. It prevents any dust or water getting into the pin to get it all rusted. So it's important to have this well in place. I'm going to do the one at the bottom as well. It's right here. All right, maybe a little tricky. Give it a couple of times to kind of like knock that in there. All right, there we go. They both are sitting in there. So first get the boot in. Okay, it's time to put the pin in. All right, I'm going to get the one, let's see here. I'm going to get the one without the rubber tip. This goes on the top. The one with the rubber goes at the bottom. So I'll just carefully take the caliper out and align it the same way you took it out, right there. And you can see here, oh, that little shim just, okay, there we go. I'm going to line it and kind of glide it in. It kind of goes in. And then over here on the top, you see here, that's a boot. And that's the place where I'm going to guide the pin from. And then make sure it aligns. And then I'm going to put the pin all the way in. I think the rubber comes in the way, so I'm just going to maybe take it out a little bit. And I'm going to yank it in. There we go. Pin's in. Just double check the pads, they're in. And then seal it in. And there we go. And all I have to do is just screw that back in. There you see, I can just roll it with my fingers for a couple of rounds. And then I'm going to use my wrench. Oh, that's part of the wrench to get it in. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. Make sure it's aligned. And you can see here, I didn't do a video, but I already done that. Lots of crease here, and then I put the silver oxide here. This goes at the bottom. From here, I'm going to slide it in, and then I'm going to just roll that in there. So brand new pins, lots of grease, rubber boots. Don't forget, this is how the caliper glides in and out and yanks the brakes. So if this is not gliding, you're going to notice your rotor is not shiny here. You may see a lot of rust in the shiny area. That means the caliper is not engaging. Now, again, I'm telling you, the mechanics, when they change the brakes, they do not lubricate these pins. Tell them, ask them, I want the guiding pins to be lubricated. If you're doing this, if you're not doing this by yourself. If you're doing this by yourself, I recommend just before winter, just once you lubricate for the year. That's good. At least once a year you lubricate. You don't have to change these calipers at all. They don't seize that easily. And you notice I got this to a certain amount of tightness, and as I was bolting this in, you see how the boot kind of moved in and got compressed and exposing the pin. So make sure to adjust the boot and just get it outside so that the pin is covered, not exposed at all. So it takes a while to get it out. There we go. See, now it's outside. sometimes it can get smudged in and the pin will be exposed. The same as the bottom is here, so I gotta just roll that out. I'm gonna get that in as well. I'll do that for sure, but just for the sake of keeping this video nice and simple, I'm gonna bring it over here. I'm gonna put this back in here, lock it in place, and make sure this is not just hand tight, but I'm talking about, oh, I did the mistake of loosening it. Okay, there we go. Get that in there again, maybe from the bottom. Let's get it up. There we go. Make sure it's nice and tight there. Same for the bottom. Okay, let's put on the glove. And I can even move that caliper in and out. I can glide it a little bit there. There we go, all creased. Brake pads, pins, all the best. Good luck, guys.